Welcome back, Adam here, and today I'm going to be showing you a side-by-side comparison of our GoSimpleTax in-browser self-assessment software versus HMRC's online tool that you access via your government gateway. Before we get into it today, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more helpful tax content. Now I'm going to break this down into what I consider three different sections of the tax return. First of all, we've got tailoring your return, which is essentially setting it up and telling HMRC about the different types of income that you had throughout the tax year. And then we'll look at actually completing your return, which is providing HMRC with the numbers and the details for the different sources of income that you had. And then finally, the tax calculation, which pulls everything together and tells you how much money you need to pay across to HMRC. Let's go take a look. To tailor your return via HMRC's online tool, we're presented with 3 pages of yes/no answer questions, which you work through one by one, and HMRC will use your answers to pull together the pages of the tax return that you'll need to complete. And the problem with this is that to cover every eventuality, as you can imagine, there's going to be a lot of different questions about a lot of different income types. So even if you don't have children and you've never claimed child benefit, well, HMRC will still need to ask you that question just to determine that you haven't. And what you end up answering is actually 22 or 23 questions. Just scrolling through these to take a look, we've got the obvious income type. So were you an employee? Did you have self-employment, income from a partnership, income from land or property, foreign income, capital gain? So they're all income related questions on page 1. Interest, another type of income, dividend income, pension income, child benefit, any other income. And then we move on to some slightly different types of questions. So we're looking at different allowances and exemptions that you might have. So we're asked about income tax losses and personal savings tax charges, pension contributions, charitable contributions, married couples allowance, marriage allowance, other tax reliefs, income offset by Job Centre Plus. Did you have a tax advisor? Have you used one or more tax avoidance schemes? And are you acting in capacity on behalf of someone else? So as you can see, the bulk of the questions relate to different types of income that you might have had, but then you have a page or so of questions relating to who's completing the return and also different exemptions and allowances that you might be entitled to. When it comes to setting up or tailoring your return in GoSimpleTax, you do have some handy features. So you can see here that I'm in my 2023-2024. This is my prior year's tax return. And in the prior year, I had residency pages and I had self-employment. If I then want to roll this forward to a new tax year, I can click on Change in the top left, Update, under the 24-25 header. And what this is going to do is roll forward my tax return, creating the same pages that I had in the prior year. So I'm now rolled forward into the 24-25 tax year with exactly the same setup. So once you're actually up and running with GoSimpleTax, tailoring your return becomes less of an issue, especially if you have the same type of income year after year. You're just going to roll forward your return and you won't need to work through that great long list of questions. Now, in a worst case scenario, if this was your first year using GoSimpleTax, or maybe your income sources have changed from year to year, you can easily remove sections of the return by selecting that page and then clicking delete in the center of the page there, and you can see that one's been removed. And if you wanted to add a new income source to your tax return, you can just click on new page. You'll be presented with a list of all the pages available via GoSimpleTax, and you can just choose from that drop down. So if you select employment, you can imply details of your employer name, save that one, and the employment pages are then added to the return. So rather than using the approach of HMRC's online tool where you're telling HMRC what income you did have, but also what income you didn't have, you're just selecting the types of income that you did have and the pages of the tax return that you need, and you're not mentioning anything about the income sources that you don't have. One thing you will also notice is that when you click to add a new page, you may also see certain pages that aren't available via HMRC's online tool. Good example of that is at the very bottom of this list, the residency pages, SA 109. These pages are not available to fill out via HMRC's online tool when you log into your government gateway, but anyone who needs to fill out the SA 109 pages can do it via GoSimpleTax. And to complete your tax return, or actually fill in the pages of your tax return, we'll need to be on section 4 from the menu on the right hand side to fill in your return. And if I scroll down the page, you can see in blue with the entered symbol, these are the pages that I've already completed, so telling them about me, giving them my information and tailoring my return. And then below that are the pages that still need to be completed. So you'll remember from when we tailored the return and set it up, I went and told them that I had self-employed income. Everything else on here, everything below this self-employment page, and each section here kind of represents a page of the tax return. Everything below here, this all relates to standard questions that need to be answered by everyone. So it doesn't really matter how you answer those tailoring questions. You're still going to have to tell them about underpaid tax and other debts, overpaid tax, not paid enough tax, adjustments to tax due. These are all sections that are going to have to be populated and have to be filled out by absolutely everyone who uses this service. So if I head back to one of the more interesting sections, one of the income sections, self-employment, and I click on the link below, I would then need to work through the questions and provide any numbers that are requested. So for self-employed income, I'm asked about my income level, my turnover. In this example, let's just go with 50,000 of turnover, and I'll show you how to input that very basic example. Basis period reform, I'm asked about. You can get further information about what these questions are asking you by using the drop downs below, and you'll normally just get a sort of paragraph of text which will give you a little bit more of an explanation. Quite often with these multiple choice questions at the bottom you'll find none of these apply, but again we're looking at different allowances and different situations that may apply, but if none of them apply to you, then you can just signal that at the bottom. I've already provided a business name, so I've just used example here, and I'm going to say that my description is accountancy services. It doesn't need to be a detailed description here, but a few words will do. You'll notice a lot of these questions have optional by the side. So where that is the case, you don't necessarily need to provide an answer. But of course, if that question does relate to you, then you'll want to give HMRC some information. But I'm going to leave the optional questions blank. The date that your books are made up to, so it's pretty typical to use a 31st of March or 5th of April date. So I'm going to enter that one in here. Traditional accounting or cash basis, I'll say no, I didn't use traditional accounting, so I used the cash basis, essentially recording income and expenditure when that money actually leaves your bank account, when you paid it, rather than when you actually ordered it or raised an invoice or received an invoice. And then we're able to provide details of my income and expenditure. So remember, in this example, we're going to go with 50,000 of turnover. We're asked about other types of income and trading allowances, but I just want to provide a single figure to detail my £20,000 of expenditure, allowable business expenditure, leaving me with a net profit of £30,000 at the bottom there. We then have a page on capital allowances and balancing charges. Typically this will apply when you've been buying equipment, machinery, vehicles, those types of things. But if you've said on the previous page that you use cash accounting, then you won't normally be able to claim capital allowances as well. So actually I can leave all of these blank. I'm going to continue on. We have a page for other adjustments like goods that you're using from your business for your own personal use. We're then asked a bunch of questions about losses. I'll move on to the next page. We'll see more questions about loss relief, I'm going to leave all of these blank. These are all, again, optional questions and may not apply to you. Did we have any tax deducted? This typically will apply to people that work in the construction industry, working under CIS. They may have a deduction made before a contractor pays them. And then questions about class 4 national insurance that applies to self-employed profits. This is looking for, again, for exemptions from that. For most people, none of these will apply, and class 4 national insurance will be applied to your profits. And at the end of this section, we have a text box to provide some additional information should we need to. You can then see my summary. So it's exactly as we'd expect, nice and simple. I've got £50,000 of income and £20,000 of expenditure, leaving me with a £30,000 profit from self-employment. And now when I head back to section 4, fill in your return, as I scroll down, what you'll see is, yes, we had already completed tell us about you and tailor your return. And now we've provided the details for the self-employment pages of the tax return. So these have all now been marked as entered. And all I would need to do is then work through the additional sections provided here, the standard sections that everyone needs to complete, and apply the exact same logic. When it comes to actually providing the numbers for my self-employment, the user face of GoSimpleTax is obviously very user-friendly and designed to be that way. So if I want to add income, I'll just use the green section here and I'll click on plus income. I'll choose a category, a suitable category. So I'm going to go with sales. Now you can break your income down by transaction, but you can also provide a single figure. So if I wanted to provide £50,000 of income for the year and I want to do that as a single figure, I can just enter, again, a date of 31st of March 2025. I'm going to put turnover in the description, and I'm going to enter a single figure of £50,000. If I was doing it by transaction, I might then add copies of invoices and receipts, etc. But I'm happy to save that as a single figure. Then to add a figure for my expenses, I'm going to click on the orange section this time and add group. I'm going to go with wages, salaries, and other staff costs. You can, of course, break this down by different sections, but I just want to provide a single figure here. Again, providing a date, a description, and then an amount. So as we did with HMRC's portal, I'm going to provide a figure of £20,000, leaving me with a profit of £30,000 from self-employment. What you will then see is you have a real-time, a sort of live tax calculation in the top left. So as I add information, as I add income or expenditure or exemptions, allowances, this will update in real time and give you an idea of your tax liability for the year based on the information that you've entered so far. Once you've provided details of the income and expenditure for your self-employment, the other thing you'll need to do in here is click on Edit, and then you'll see a number of basic details that you'll need to check and some yes/no answer questions. So you'll just need to work through these and make sure that the appropriate answer is selected. As you can see, when it comes to actually inputting that financial information and filling out your tax return, the GoSimpleTax platform is very user-friendly when compared to HMRC's online tool. Now, in order to actually view your calculation, once you've completed your tax return using HMRC's online tool, if you're happy you've provided all the information, you can scroll to the bottom of the fill in your return page, click next to view your calculation, and then you can see you're presented with a summary of your calculation first of all. So this is only a summary. It's the basics of your calculation. It just provides you with the amount that you need to pay and by when, but doesn't show you how it was actually calculated. What you can see though is that based on my £30,000 self-employment profits, the total amount that I would need to pay for the 24-25 tax year is £4,531.80. It's then asking me for a payment on account towards the next year's liability of half of that again, meaning that I would then need to pay by the 31st of January 2026 £6,797.70 to avoid any late payment penalties. You can then view a more detailed breakdown if you want to know how HMRC got to that £4,531.80 figure by scrolling to the bottom, click Save and Continue, and then we can see that my profit from self-employment had £12,570 deducted from it, which was my personal allowance, leaving £17,430 taxable. Tax was applied at 20%, leaving us with a £3,486 personal tax liability. National insurance was applied below that, leaving us with a total income tax and national insurance liability of £4,531.80. As you can see, the tax calculation is fairly basic. All of the information and the workings are there, but potentially not laid out in the most user-friendly way. To view your full tax calculation via the GoSimpleTax platform, of course, you have your real-time calculation showing in the top left, but you can also click on Report, where you'll again be presented with a summary of your tax position. So this is showing my income tax liability of £3,486. You then have a national insurance liability of £1,045, giving me a total balance for the year of £4,531. Again, the platform is picking up that I'll need to make a payment on account, which is half of that amount again. So the total amount payable by January is £6,797.70. If I then want to view a detailed breakdown of how these figures are being calculated, above the summary, I can click on View Tax Calculation. If you click on the plus symbol, you can then see that breakdown again. So again, personal allowance is being deducted from my profits, income tax is being applied, and national insurance is being applied as well. So there you have the three main sections of the tax return: tailoring your return, filling out your return, and your tax calculation, shown side by side using GoSimpleTax and HMRC's online tool. I hope you found that useful. Thank you for watching. See you next time.